Hello, I am Jack MacDonald speaking to you from Calgary, Alberta in Canada. I am pleased to present a paper to your 21st annual conference. I had the honor of doing so at your 2002 conference. I am impressed by your continuing commitment to topics in spirituality. On April 27th, 1982, the 6th birthday of our twin girls, Heather and Camille, I said to Claire, my partner, "Well, dear, we have basically finished our task of raising these two daughters. We need only to continue with our love and our care through their remaining childhood years." Why did I say this? I said this because throughout human history, and now well confirmed by studies in child development, for better or for worse, children live out in their lives what they have learned in their earliest years. This is true of fundamental qualities such as love, respect, acceptance, tolerance, fairness, faith, hope, and of contrasting qualities such as hatred, disrespect, rejection, intolerance, injustice, violence. It is in these first years of a child's life that the education problems of a lifetime are at the forefront, are confronted, and during which the results become deeply embedded. They take place within the relationships of the institutions that we commonly refer to as marriage and the family. Throughout human history, ethnic, religious, cultural expressions have prescribed and dictated parental roles in child rearing and education practices. It is in these contexts that they must be addressed in our world. It is in these societal institutions, marriage, the family, and its education systems, that we are now globally experiencing upheavals greater than any previously encountered. They flow directly from our cultural, religious, and ethnic disruptions. In this paper, I will not focus on what may be positives or negatives in these discontinuities. Rather, I will focus on their content, and by inference, the problems they present to parents as first educators and to our education systems. In 1997, I retired from my position as social work professor and Children's Hospital Department head clinician and researcher. I created a plan for my retirement years. I called it Second Half Enterprises. One of my projects was to write a book entitled, Where Do We Come From? Who Are We? Where Are We Going? I've yet to write the book. As an alternative, in 2018 I posted on YouTube 6 hours of video slides explaining my answers. This paper addresses these questions. I will state my positions with conviction. I am fully aware that serious debates concerning the questions now echo throughout the planet. Where do we come from? For over 400 years, developments in scientific knowledge have been radically revising the tribal, ethnic, and religious stories of our origins. Stated briefly, we come from the 14 billion years of evolutionary processes embedded in an unfolding universe. As humans, we are the products of this universe, and more specifically, of this planet. Our common consciousness actively discerns implications of this continuing evolutionary emergence. In ever-increasing numbers, people and their offsprings are laying aside centuries-old human origin stories. Evolution is now the planetary, scientifically based story of human origins. It is the history of where we come from. This new history poses deep problems in human value education for groups, religions, and cultures as they struggle with traditional divine revelations and mythologies. Who are we? We are, and we are ever more rapidly becoming the Earth's awareness of itself. Indeed, perhaps the universe's awareness of itself. Taken together, all 7.5 billion of us constitute the individual and the collective cells that with increasing connective complexity makes up the planet's awareness of itself and of its place in the universe, an ever-deepening individual and global consciousness. We are as persons a holistic, living unity of matter, mind, spirit, soul, empowered by intellect to know truth, by free will to seek the good, to love, and by emotion to have passions, feelings. Once again, for emphasis, we are these unities, individually and in our global consciousness. Our evolutionary ages and stages are now marked by an interconnectivity that is remarkable beyond anything in the last 14 billion years. When we transpose our personal knowledge and understandings of who we are into the metaphor of our global consciousness and awareness, the consequences and the problems for education are immediately evident. But this is more than a metaphor. We are the ability of planet Earth to look at itself, to assess its well-being, diagnose its ailments, decide on needed interventions, and make changes to achieve more positive patterns of living. Education systems are vital to these endeavors. Because of these facts, the time is now for every tribe, every race, every religious grouping, with the stories of their origins, their ethnic superiorities, their claims of the divine revelation of absolute and unchanging truth, to reform and integrate their stories with the known facts emerging in human scientific knowledge and consensus. Failure to do so is simply to become irrelevant bystanders in a rapidly changing age. Continuous, open dialogues in this regard are essential to our futures. The new truths, sourced in our qualitative and quantitative sciences, are joining with the universal values and beliefs that have emerged as part of our evolutionary processes. These values and beliefs include the inherent worth and dignity of the individual, the universal prescription to love one another, fundamental human equality, regardless of gender, sexuality, race, ethnicity, religion, and human rights such as to health, to education, to freedom of movement. The education problems currently existent and challenged by the above are experienced in every region of the world. They are evident to each of us. They deeply impinge upon our daily lives. They are expressed in our struggles to update our worldviews or to intensify our resistance in the hope that we can remain unaffected within the cocoon of our supposedly secure little corners of the world. The education problems presented by the struggle for equality in human well-being, in gender, in sexuality, in race, and in religious observance are among our greatest. They descend to our community and neighborhood levels everywhere and without exception. They demand learning to live in peace, learning acceptance, learning respect for self and others, and love-based tolerance for differences. But the answers to the questions of who we are go further, much further, leading to ever-deepening awareness of our roles and responsibilities. Our planet has all the characteristics of a holistic living organism. It is rapidly becoming clear that just as our minds are central to the management of our personal health, they are also the custodians of the health and well-being of the planet. Whether we are atheists, agnostics, or divinity-acknowledging spiritualists, we are well into our evolutionary roles as planetary co-creators. As co-creators in recent decades, indeed centuries, we have and are continually asserting this planetary role, right, responsibility, and are even beginning to do so on a small but significant interplanetary level. We have a planetary need to realize the full potential of every human person. Correlatively, every human person needs the means of education for this realization. The problems for education in this context are globally evident, most prominently in the widening gaps between rich and poor, and in access to the expanding vistas of our knowledge. Where are we going? The statements in response to the question, who are we, when combined with where do we come from, are open the doors to visions of where we might be going. My personal views over the years are continuously evolving. I will discuss them briefly at the conclusion of the paper. Where are we going? Our co-creating rights and responsibilities are only one side of the equation. Throughout known human history, we were emerging not only as co-creators, but also in parallel, we were emerging as co-destroyers. For centuries, the planet has seemed capable of digesting our destructiveness. However, since the beginning of the industrial age, and certainly now in the atomic, environmentally sensitive, climate change eras, we globally experience the extent of our destructiveness and realize that we have the capacity to bring about total self-destruction. This is certainly one side of the where are we going discussion. Our embedded self-destruction capacities now lead to constant debate over serious concerns. You might wish to create your own list of these debates. My list includes that in addition to human equality issues, there are concerns for our environmental relationships, our genetic DNA modification capacities, and our abilities to integrate technology into the very fabric of our physical lives. In each of these areas, where we are going presents serious problems for education, and most importantly for our evolving values, our ethical and morality stances. For centuries, we have viewed ourselves as the consciousness pinnacle of our planet's creatures. We were next to the angels and to the spirit world. Indeed, from the stories told in many races and religions, we were a step beyond the planet's life systems, placed here by the Creator to live our lives with destinies to a future in other realms. While for some this may be true, many evolutionary futurists hold that we are not only the products of our planetary processes, we are integral to where these processes are leading us. It seems, they say, that the evolutionary processes of planet Earth fully involve human creatures in an ever-expanding, deepening consciousness and spirituality. We are co-participants with nature in wherever this, at once chaotic and yet orderly, expanding and deepening is going. We are partners in the evolutionary processes of the planet, and within these processes, we ourselves are continuing to evolve. For these reasons, pushing the boundaries of spirituality, mindfulness, awareness, and consciousness are central to the current education and knowledge expansion efforts of the planet. To quote from a poem with which I concluded my 2002 presentation, "Thank God our time is now, when the road comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us until we take the greatest stride of soul folks ever took. Affairs are now soul size. The enterprise is now exploration into God." Before concluding, let me permit me to state and reiterate a listing of some problems for education. From this list, you can personally add, subtract, debate, or simply disregard. Some of these problems include assuring that co-creative roles, rights, and responsibilities triumph over our tendencies to destroy. They include coping with the global chaos of accelerating change everywhere and in everything. They include knowledge, the volume of which now doubles with exponential rapidity. They include coping with big data in analysis, understandings, and applications. They include deepening awareness of who we are, where we come from, and where we're going. Appreciating the values directly related to these answers and questions, to the answers to these questions is essential. Finally, the problems in human rights, responsibilities, and equity are expressed in issues of wealth, poverty, racism, gender, sexuality, health, opportunity, education, and human governance systems. Let me conclude on a personal level. From my life of study and commitments to human spirituality, I have come to deeply believe that love is the fundamental energy of the universe. It is the essential source of the overflowing processes leading to the origins of the universe, and consequently the primary driving force, energy propelling the evolutionary processes of the universe. Our journey as integral to the universe is from alpha to omega, from beginning to end. Our spirituality was embedded in the potentiality of the creation instant. Love as the energy of existence is where we come from, who we are, and where we are going. I began with the story about the 6th birthday of our twins. In our concerns for the education of ourselves and our children, the future human students of humanity, let me conclude with a poem that has guided me through my life as a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, and now a great-grandparent. It is Khalil Gibran's On Children. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves the bow that is stable. The end.